This is one of the most unsettling photographs in human history. Astronaut Bruce McCandless's first untethered spacewalk. After he returned, he did not speak for 3 days. When a NASA psychologist asked him what was wrong, he only uttered one sentence: "I saw the Earth breathing." The doctor initially thought he had lost his mind, but subsequently, more and more astronauts reported similar experiences. They described that when you stare at the Earth from space for more than 30 seconds, you see it expanding and contracting like a massive lung. This is not a hallucination. It's your brain struggling to process an absurd visual. A colossal object with a diameter of $12,742 kilometers is clearly visible in your field of view. To rationalize this image, your cerebellum automatically adds the motion of breathing. Even more chilling is the feeling you get when you look for an extended period, a sense that the Earth is staring back at you. NASA calls this the inverse overview effect. It's not you observing the Earth, but the Earth observing you. Up to $30% of astronauts have experienced this, stating, "This is more terrifying than seeing an alien, because you suddenly realize that you thought you were the observer, but in fact, you are just a cell on this gigantic blue organism." But this is merely the surface-level terror of the overview effect. What truly broke the astronauts was the cognitive shock that followed. On December 24, 1968, Apollo 8 astronaut William Anders took the photograph that changed human history, Earthrise, while orbiting the Moon. The moment he raised his camera, his hand was trembling, not from weightlessness, but because he suddenly grasped a profound truth. He was not photographing a planet, but the coffin of all human civilization. Do you know that feeling? It's like playing a video game for 20 years, and one day you exit the game interface and see the computer screen running the game. In that instant, everything within the game, the quests, the gear, the levels, collapses into code, into nothingness. What William Anders experienced in lunar orbit was this very cognitive collapse. It took him 3 full years after returning to Earth before he could speak publicly about what he saw that day. Even more strangely, in 2014, neuroscientists used functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI, to scan the brains of $17 astronauts and discovered a startling secret. When they recalled their space experiences, their brain's default mode network, DMN, the region responsible for self-awareness and spatial orientation, exhibited abnormal synchronous firing. The activity patterns in this region were nearly identical to those who have undergone near-death experiences, NDE. In other words, viewing the Earth from space is, in essence, a miniature soul death. This is not a romantic metaphor, but a tangible neurological alteration. Your brain has a structure called the precuneus, which constructs your spatial frame of reference, telling you, "I am here, and the world is there." But when you see the Earth suspended like a marble $320 kilometers above, this system instantly crashes, because your precuneus evolved on the Earth's surface and is entirely incapable of processing this kind of information. The result is that your brain activates an emergency protection mechanism, forcibly creating a sense of fusion. One astronaut described it particularly accurately. "I felt like I was no longer an individual. I became a part of the Earth, or rather, the Earth became a part of me." This feeling is not romantic poetry. It is a cognitive disorder, an extreme measure taken by your brain to avoid total collapse. But the truly frightening part is still ahead. In 2007, a Japanese neuroscience team conducted an experiment. They had $30 subjects wear VR goggles to simulate the view of Earth from the International Space Station. After just $15 minutes, $43% of the people experienced varying degrees of self-boundary blurring. Some couldn't distinguish their hands from a table, others felt their consciousness spreading outwards, and 2 even had an immediate breakdown, claiming they didn't know who they were anymore. This was merely a VR simulation. The real space experience is 100 times more powerful. In space, your senses receive a barrage of contradictory information. Your eyes tell you the Earth is small, your reason tells you it is huge, your body tells you are floating, your memory tells you should have weight. These contradictions form a massive cognitive black hole in your brain, and the overview effect is the gravity of that black hole. Even more unsettling is that this effect is irreversible. Neuroscientists tracked $63 astronauts and found that even 10 years after returning to Earth, their brain structure remained different from that of ordinary people. Specifically, the brain region responsible for processing the boundaries between self and other was permanently weakened. This means they can no longer take for granted, as ordinary people do, that I am me and the world is the world. One retired astronaut's comment in an interview silenced everyone for 30 seconds. He said, "What I miss most is not my family and friends on Earth, not the food and the music. What I miss most is the happiness of not knowing the truth. I now wake up every day remembering the Earth hanging in the darkness, that fragility, that loneliness, that absurdity. This memory is like a thorn, forever lodged in my brain, and I can't pull it out." You might ask, if it's so painful, why do these astronauts repeatedly apply to go back to space? The answer is even more bizarre. They are addicted. Psychologists call this transcendental experience addiction. Once your brain has experienced that ultimate dissolution of self-boundary, every stimulus on Earth will become dull and uninteresting. It's like once you've tasted the spiciest chili pepper, ordinary food loses its flavor. NASA has an unreleased internal report detailing an even more extreme case. In 1996, an astronaut on the International Space Station spent 6 hours a day for 3 consecutive days staring at the Earth. His colleagues noticed something was wrong. Because he wasn't eating, sleeping, or speaking, he was just floating quietly by the window, staring unblinkingly at the blue planet. On the 4th day, when colleagues forcibly pulled him away, he said something that chilled everyone to the bone. "I finally understand. We have never been alive. We are just replaying a recording that has already happened." He was diagnosed with a dissociative disorder upon returning to Earth. But even today, he maintains that he saw something in space. He refuses to disclose the specifics, only repeating, "Some truths humanity is not yet ready to accept." So, what exactly does the overview effect change in astronauts? The neurologist's answer is the sense of time. Our ordinary person's sense of time is linear, past, present, future, one after the other. But for astronauts who have experienced the overview effect, their sense of time becomes spherical. When you look at the Earth from space, you feel as if you are simultaneously seeing the Earth's past and present due to the minuscule time difference. One physicist proposed an even more radical theory. The overview effect might be the first sign of the human brain contacting the 4th dimension. He believes that when you look at the Earth from space, your brain briefly breaks the constraints of 3-dimensional space and perceives the true structure of space-time. This also explains why many astronauts return with a feeling of seeing through everything. It's not that they became smarter, but that their perceptual dimension was temporarily elevated. However, one thing is certain: the overview effect is rewriting humanity's understanding of consciousness. It proves one thing: our self-identity, the unwavering belief in who I am, is merely a story concocted by the brain to allow us to survive on the Earth's surface. And when you leave the surface of the Earth, that story begins to crumble. Even more shocking, recent research has found that you don't need to actually go to space to experience a part of the overview effect. In 2019, a research team developed an Earth meditation method, having subjects view the Earth from different altitudes in a VR environment. When the altitude exceeded $100,000 kilometers, $30% of the people experienced a hallucination of merging with the Earth. When the altitude reached $380,000 kilometers, almost everyone underwent some degree of cognitive restructuring. This finding suggests that the overview effect may not be exclusive to astronauts. It is a mechanism dormant deep within the human brain that, once activated, permanently changes the way you view the world. With the popularization of commercial space travel, hundreds of thousands of people may experience this cognitive shock within the next 2 decades. What changes will occur in human civilization then? Will more people realize the illusion of borders and the absurdity of war? Or will more people suffer mental breakdowns because they cannot bear the truth? No one knows the answer. But one thing is certain: When you truly see this planet from the outside, you can never go back, not back to Earth, but back to the self who didn't know the truth. And this may be the true terror of the overview effect. It doesn't destroy you, it makes you sober. It doesn't make you insane, it makes you see our collective insanity.